Hey guys, welcome to the investor.bet Saturday Racing Eagle Farm full card preview. Going to run through all 9 races for the Group 1 meeting, share which races I'm betting into, which ones I'm avoiding, and the reasons why I'm backing each one of those horses. This is a snapshot of what I do every single week for the past 2.5 years in the racing show, where I go through all the meetings and for Wednesdays and Saturdays and share all the bets that I'm having. So I wanted to do something different for the Group 1 meeting this Saturday and do a full preview of Eagle Farm. Last weekend, I sent out the preview for the Doomben meeting, where we ended up with a total of 6 bets. We had 3 winners in the opening race. We had What It Goes winning at $7.50 minus the deductions came down to around $6.60. Then we had Clean Energy lead all the way to win, and then later on in the Group 2, Scarlet Oak going on to win that race fairly comfortably at the mid-3s. So if you followed those 6 plays, successful day overall. Now, looking ahead to this weekend, so there's only 9 races. Over the past pretty much 2 years or so now, we've expected 10 races across most of the tracks every Saturday. Back to 9 races across the majority of the tracks this weekend. Eagle Farm is currently a soft 5. Eagle Farm drives pretty well. There's fine conditions expected for Thursday and Friday, but there is rain predicted Saturday morning and more so Saturday afternoon. So that means we're probably going to get rain on the day. It's a high percentage chance the rain is going to hit. Rain on the day is the only thing that makes it a little bit tricky when you're betting. Rain leading up to the meeting is okay because you can really adjust for that, and you know how much rain has hit. Whereas rain on the day, that water can sit on the track a little bit. Thankfully, Eagle Farm dries really well, but also you don't really know how much is going to hit, and also the horses are running through that track while that rain is hitting, which causes little puddles to fill. But hopefully the track holds up and plays pretty well. Rail goes back into the true position. If we look through here, last meeting was on the 8th of May where the rail was out 11 meters. If we go back to the 20th of April, the rail was in the 1 meter position and it was a soft track that day. And most of the winners came at least 4 lanes off the fence in the straight, pretty much half and half. Half the winners were in lanes like 4 to 6, and then the other half were out wider on the track. So inside really wasn't the place to be. If we go back to the 16th of March, the rail was in the half-meter position, and a majority of the winners that day, apart from a couple, were in lanes 4 to 6 in the straight. I think one was slightly inside that as well. So that means more than likely they're going to be getting off the fence in the straight. And obviously you want horses that can handle that little bit of giving the ground. So we'll start going through the races. Race 1, it's over 1,600 meters, benchmark 85. The horse I like in this race is number 5, Poison Chalice. The only real question mark with it is going from the 1,200 meters to the 1,600 meters. But the first up run down in Victoria at Flemington, down the straight over 1,200 was really, really good. Was back last in the run, kind of got a little bit checked early when they jumped out of the barriers, lost a bit of ground. And you can see settled 13th or 14th in the run. The winner of the race, Who Dares, led them up, and Poison Chalice closed off really, really strongly in behind them. And so it was a really, really nice first up effort. Handles that bit of giving the ground. 3 of its 4 wins have come on rain-affected tracks, and has previously won over the 1,600 meters. This run at Flemington was a career peak. We'll bring up the meeting here, so to see the ratings for each horse. So Poison Chalice here. That last run rated 48.5, which is a career best. The question mark is staying off of that, stepping up off of that and holding that form coming into this race. But off what it has done, looks very, very hard to beat in this race. From a speed map perspective, it is drawn out touch wide in barrier number 13. But not super concerned by that. If we look at the track map here, from the 1,600 meter starting position, they have the full run down the back straight, then around onto the home turn and into the home straight there. So That should enable Michael D to overcome that barrier, settle back, get a little bit of cover, and then run on strongly. Tenzing and Sunset Soiree both come out of the same race, finishing 1-2 last start. Sunset Soiree gets slight weight swing on Tenzing from that performance. They look the other two main dangers who are both going to get soft runs towards the inside. But I think Poison Chalice should be hard to beat in the opening race. So we'll definitely be betting there. Race 2, over 1,400 meters, benchmark 78. This is a really, really tricky race. Number 10, Warby, who's currently favorite, is drawn out in barrier number 18. And will need a really good ride by Blake Shin to be winning this race. It's been racing well this preparation, been in the placings of its first 2 starts, now third up. Should be ready to peak and is with the Golan stable, but definitely wouldn't want to be backing it from that barrier. The horse of interest here, it's definitely a non-betting race for me, but number 19, Space Tracker, does look the interesting runner. Good run first up, went in finishing third, and then dropped right out of it, beaten 8 lengths last start. But was running in restricted room, got checked a couple of times in the straight. James Allman went to go back down towards the inside. There wasn't a run there. Then went to come to the outside. Had a little bit of time to build momentum, but if you watch the Stewart's footage, it was really not a lot of room in that race. Warby did finish well ahead of it. Space Tracker gets a slight weight drop back to 58 kilos and now third up. So it gets that little bit more added fitness. Like the fact that Ormond sticks with it as well, and drawn in barrier number 10 will be in the right part of the track in the home straight. And the Annabelle Neesham stable is going really, really well at the moment. So definitely keeping an eye out for those horses. It's around 20 to 1, probably a non-betting race, but it's probably the one that caught the eye the most for me. Race 3 over 2,400 meters are into the group races now. This is a group 3. And the horse I want to back here is number 6. He's a shocker. Doesn't have the overall best strike rate, only winning 4 of its 31 starts. But he has quite a number of things in its favor here. Comes off running in a group 1 last start. We're not all that far away. Was back last in the run over 2,000 meters. And pretty much hugged the fence in the straight and was only beaten 2.8 lengths on the line by Boys Dargent, who led them up that race and kicked away to win, holding off New Endeavour and Faulkner Park, who's flying late. Back from a group 1, back to a group 3, quick backup, drops from 59 kilos down to 57 kilos. So very well suited from that perspective. Jamie Carr goes on board to replace Michael D, and drawn in barrier number 3 ensures that it's going to get a soft run. Also like the fact that it's back up to 2,400 meters. One over 2,200 meters at Newcastle to start prior, then a slight drop back in trip. Now back to the 20 or up to the 2,400 meters. Jamie Carr's also previously won on this horse. And just maps, he had a really, really nice run down along the inside. Hopefully she just park it 1 off the fence, so to be able to build to the right part of the track in the straight. We should get a strong enough tempo. Spirit Ridge, who's one that I was a little bit annoyed myself for not backing last start. J-Mac pretty much lifted this horse over the line. He's not riding at this meeting, so Blake Shin takes over the ride. And another one for Shin where it's going to need a very, very good ride from barrier number 19. It's currently in. And from there, looks like it's going to have to put in a very big performance in order to win in this race, and also rises up to the 60 kilos, where everything looks in favor. He's a shocker. Just needs to overcome that low winning strike rate. Race 4 is over the 1,800 meters. It's group 3. And the horse I want to back in this race is all the way towards the bottom. It's currently first emergency, but already guaranteed to run with Waterford for the Wallace Stable being scratched. And that is number 15, Shock 'em Over. Craig Williams gets back on board this horse. It's only missed a placing once from 10 career starts. And this win first up at Caulfield over 1,400 meters was really, really impressive. Dropped back out to last, was on the fence. And then Dean Yendall, for the first about 100 meters of the straight, had the right blinker on, crossing the field, going right around them, and then charged right down the outside to get up and win very, very comfortably. That was a very impressive return. Off that, looks very hard to beat in this race. Needs to go from the 1400 meters up to the 1800 meters, but drawn well in barrier number 5. So from there, should get absolute run of the race. Doesn't need to be all the way back from that barrier. But just hold a position just off midfield. Pace looks on, which should set it up perfectly for this horse to run over the top. Just that first up run looks like that it's gone to a new level. In on the minimum here with 56 kilos. And I think it'll be able to run right over some of them. We're getting close to $4 as well for a horse that if it holds form off that first up run is going to be right in the finish, and any natural improvement makes it very, very hard to beat. Only real question mark is running out the 1800 meters on a slightly rain affected track, but I definitely think it can do it. Race 5 over 1400 meters is a Group 2. I'm going to stay out of this race as it currently stands. Number 1 broadsiding does look very hard to beat. It's clearly the class horse of the race. Gets in at 57 kilos, so very well suited. Coming off of Group 1, I think it was 6 weeks ago. It's had a 42-day freshen up off of that. Won that race on a heavy 10, so get through the ground, absolutely no worries. And I always like when there's big margins back to third, or even second, but generally big margins back through the field. That adds even more merit to that win. The trial at Randwick was really nice, over 1,045. Second behind I Found You. I really wanted to see that horse go around yesterday at Canterbury, but they scratched it. So we don't get a line through it. But regardless, that broadsiding trial was very, very nice the way that it hit the line and through the line. Gets Jamie Carter steer, still lightly raced, but we'll definitely need to overcome this barrier. It's drawn right out wide. There's going to be, I think it's an 18 horse field, even after emergencies or scratchings come out. So going to have a very, very tough run. And with that break between runs, just, I feel like it is a touch vulnerable. If it had drawn barrier number 5, something like that, anywhere under 10, probably would be getting $2.50 for it to be winning this race. So you kind of are getting a bit of a price, mainly due to the map. That's the main thing against it. If already by this stage they are getting right off the track, then could set up perfectly in that barrier, ends up being ideal. But as it currently stands, I don't want to get involved, and it's a race that I want to stay out. Anytime, where there's a horse I feel like is too good for the rest of the field, but it doesn't set up well for that horse, it's automatically a stay out race. And that's how, I go through the 45 to 50 races every Saturday and the around 40 races every Wednesday, and go through, which races I want to bet into, which ones I want to avoid. So as it currently stands, broadsiding does look hard to beat, but don't want to be involved with it. Race 6 over 1400 meters. It's a Group 3. This is an interesting race. I think number 17, Steffi Magnetica. This horse resumed in the Group 1 Doomben 10,000 behind Bella Nipotina, where Bella Nipotina, I Wish I Win, hit the line together. Steffi Magnetica was a touch slow away and then checked heavily during the first couple of 100 meters, so lost even more ground. Tim Clark ended up last in the run there, was able to get onto the back of Bella Nipotina, and then cross back towards the inside. So if you remember the race, Bella Nipotina charged down the outside to pick up I Wish I Win, and Steffi Magnetica cut down back towards the inside. So potentially not the best ground, but still closed off really nicely for a fairly close up 5th. We'll improve off of that for the second up run, and especially coming back from a Group 1 back to a Group 3, gets in with 55 kilos again. So very similar to He's a Shocker, where they're coming back in grade, but don't cop a weight penalty for that. Drawn in barrier number 2, hopefully isn't against it, but no matter what, should get a nice run from there. Tommy Berry to steer. He's previously run a close second on this horse at the end of the last prep in a Group 1 behind Tropical Squall. So will give Steffi Magnetica every possible chance from there. But I really like coming back from a tough run in the Group 1 last start, where pretty much a touch outclassed in that field. You see it start at $41, but only finished 1.5 lengths off them. Back to a much, much easier race. Handles that bit of give in the ground, and out of fitness here, second up. Everything points to it running really well. And another one where we're getting a fairly good price. I really like backing horses in that, $3 to $4 price range. Of the other horses in the race, Schwartz is the interesting one. This horse pretty much does need to lead to win. It's had 6 career starts for 3 wins. All 3 times it's led, it's won. Whenever it hasn't led, it hasn't won those races. Drawn in barrier number 5, so Jamie Carr will be right up there on speed, but I don't think it's going to be able to lead this race. The instructor for the Waterhouse Bot stable, I don't think, is going to let Carr kick up underneath it. But if Schwartz does get the lead, then it could be hard to get past. But we backed it last start, kind of got the money out of it. And I think it was heavily back there as well. So happy to jump off this time. Stapati is an interesting runner. A couple of preparations ago was setting the world on fire and then hasn't really come back the past 2 preps. Barrier was a touch against it last start, drawn inside when outside barriers were favored. So definitely am wary of it, but drawn out barrier number 22, another one that's going to have a really, really tough run from out there. Whereas we know Stephanie Magnetica gets all favors from the inside, and Tommy Barrier will just have to get away from the fence as they come around the bend. Race 7, we get into the Group 1s now, the Kingston Smith Cup, over 1,300 meters. This race is very, very interesting. It's definitely one with a number of chances, and any one of probably 5 to 6 winning wouldn't surprise. I'm going to give number 1, I Wish I Win, one more chance. This is also that I haven't really backed much throughout his career. I was on last start when I ran second when run down by Bella Nipotina. That was a race where, I could have backed 2 horses because Bella Nipotina had as the only danger. But Bella Nipotina, that race is set up perfectly for it, conditions-wise, and had the fitness edge on I Wish I Win, who had a small break between runs leading into that. We're going to get a slightly drier track this time, and I Wish I Win off of that run will be better fitness-wise. It draws barrier number 1 again, and Bella Nipotina draws in 2, so they're going to be right next to each other out of the gates. I Wish I Win gets the blinkers back on, which should sharpen it up. And with that added fitness, I think it can win this race. And we're getting a price over $4. So going to give it one more chance. Loses McDonald, but does get Nolan on board. Can't remember right now off the top of my head, but McDonald did make comments after the run last start, just referring to that I Wish I Win just got a little bit lost out in front. So that is potentially the reason. I think he said that I Wish I Win didn't see Bella Nipotina till it was too late and then tried to kick back on the line. Luke Nolan gets on board with McDonald not riding, but he's previously ridden this horse. And there was some controversy when he didn't get the ride last start at Duma when he was available, but he has ridden I Wish I Win 2-3 wins, including the Group 1 back in April at Randwick, and then the second in the Everest towards the end of last year. So he'll definitely be keen to prove. And barrier 1 potentially is another curse. This horse does keep on drawing barrier number 1, which is interesting. But just the key will be getting off the fence into the home straight, similar as a number of runners. Of the other horse in the field, it is a very, very good field. Magic Time is a dual Group 1 winner. And drawn out in barrier 9 will be in the right part of the track. In Secret's trialed up really well. Gets Jamie Carr on board to ride. If In Secret does win this race, then it potentially sets up a nice bet in the last race. So I'll be keeping an eye out from that perspective. But I don't want to be with it here first up against some horses that do have the fitness edge against it. Bella Nipotina, as I mentioned. Antino, very, very nice win first up when drifting. Tough run there for Vlad Jurek from barrier number 12. From this starting position, doesn't have much time to find a position from there and potentially does get caught out 3 wide. And then think about it. It's a horse that I've made a lot of money out of that horse, winning many starts last year and the year prior. Just don't think it's really come up this preparation. Since winning the Everest, think about it, just, hasn't been at its best. He won the Everest there, and then ran close up 3rd. But then all this preparation just really hasn't been at its best. Second behind Lady Laguna, then well beaten at Rose Hill, and then dropped right out at Randwick last start over the 1,600 meters. Given a freshener back to the 1,300. Trials have been okay without getting carried away, but just gonna let it go around without me and be with I Wish I Win. Then race 8 is also a Group 1 over 2,400 meters. And I like Autumn Angel getting back up to the 2,400 meters. It was back in trip last start from the 2,400 where it won the Group 1 back to 2,000 meters. And Tannhauser was a little bit too sharp for it. And also, you could say Autumn Angel was beaten by the barrier that day. Drawn out in barrier number 10, had a tough run. Was back 13 of 16. Jamie Carr looped the field, and obviously Mark Zara goes on here, who won previously, and it wasn't anything to do with Carr's ride. It was just beaten by the barrier that day, and McDonald got the better run on Tannhauser. But better suited back up to the 2,400 meters where it beat Zardozzi and Orchestral. If it runs up to that, wins this race and wins it comfortably. So it looks very well suited. Gets barrier number 1. So it's going to have a nice soft run, but similar to a number of runners, will need to get off the fence. Hopefully they can win from 4 lanes off. That'll be ideal. But just will need a good steer from the 600 meter mark or even the 800 meter. I think Zara will start trying to edge away from the fence and look for that clear running. And they'll definitely know the place to be by this stage of the day. Tannhauser, who won that race last start, also drawn low in barrier number 3. Gets Nash Willer replacing McDonald, who, as I said, is not lining up here. But Autumn Angel in with the 55 kilos, meet them at level weights over 2,400 meters. I think turns the table on Tannhauser and just needs to steer to get away from the fence in the straight. And also, the 2,400 meters doesn't look as suitable for Tannhauser. Likely runs out, especially with the Waller stable, but is still untested at that distance where we know Autumn Angel is a Group 1 winner over the distance. And then a race 9 over 1,200 meters. Probably staying out of this race. I did mention there may become a bet if In Secret does win. Race number 7 in that bet is number 10, Facile. Nice win all the way last start down in Sydney. Been back to the trials since and hit the line alongside In Secret in its trial since that last run. And they did put a margin on the 3rd horse and the rest of the field in that trial. Gets barrier number 1, Tim Clark, onto ride. And is a horse that likes to go forward and land on speed. So get all favorites from there. Shortish run before they get onto the bend here. So should be able to take full advantage of that, but don't really want to back it in this race as it currently stands. Potentially, if that fence isn't the best place to be, but Clark should be able to edge away. But I think it should be shorter than the 12 bells it currently is. Core Volante, first up here is likely race. Should get run of the race there for Blake Shin. Comrade Rosa is a horse that can put in really good performances. Second up, Ryan Maloney to steer, just doesn't love that rain affected ground as much. But those look the main 3 in the last race. Moesha gets Jamie Carr on board and is definitely one of the other chances, constantly running second this preparation. So just interested in Facile, but want to see how In Secret goes first and how the inside is playing throughout the day at Eagle Farm. So to quickly recap the races that I'm keen on, race 1, like Poison Chalice in that race. Race 2, not really interested in, but do think Space Truckers touch over the odds of 20s. Race 3, going with He's a Shocker. Race 4, going with Shock and Mova. Staying out of race 5 currently. I think Broadsiding looks the best horse, but not suited by the race shape. And then race 6, going with Steffi Magnetica. Race 7, I Wish I Win, giving it another chance. And race 8, Autumn Angel. Just hoping Autumn Angel and I Wish I Win both able to get away from the fence in the straight, as I think that's going to be key to their chances. So that's how I'm playing Eagle Farm. I am betting across the other 4 meetings, on Saturday. So Caulfield, Belmont over in WA, Morphettville in South Australia, and then the 10 races from Rose Hill in New South Wales. All those plays will be out on Friday in the racing show. If you want to learn more about that, I'll put the link in the description. So far, since I started the racing show back in October 2021, we've made 1,330 units profit across all the bets. And that So 1,330 units with promotions if you're following with promotions. And obviously not every race is betting with promotions. It's just using the ones from the major companies. And if you're following completely without promotions, then it's over 500 units profit during that same time. And the good thing about following without promotions is that you can bet up to the minimum bet law limits. So you can bet much higher stakes. And so that 500 units profit can look a lot more than the 1,330 units profit for the people betting $50 units and the members betting $50 units on those. You can also, I'll put the link in the description where you can go through and see all the results from every single bet that I've sent out over those 2.5 years. So everything's fully tracked and you can see all the results for yourself. But if you want the plays for the rest of Saturday and all the staking and the reasons why I'm backing every horse, definitely check out the racing show. And then this weekend, there is a meeting on Sunday at Sandown on the Lakeside track. A few flat races, a few jumps races. So potentially may have a couple of plays for that. And then also with the racing show, you get plays every Wednesday as well for all the Metro meetings. So betting Wednesdays and Saturdays every single week. But definitely check it out if you're interested and you like betting on horse racing. And most importantly, you want to make profits. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Good luck on Saturday.